Welcome to 3.4, Graphing Ratio Relationships. We're going to do some graphing in this. You're going to learn how to plot ordered pairs from a ratio relationship and to solve ratio problems using graphs. And we're also going to be able to graph to compare ratios with this. So we're going to start off with a few notes. I've got the grid paper on there, the graph paper, so that it's ready to go. But we're going to start off that way. To start off, what you need to understand is that for a ratio of two quantities, you can use equivalent ratios to create ordered pairs of the form. So you use the first quantity and the second quantity. You can plot these ordered pairs in a coordinate plane and draw a line starting at 0, 0 through the points. I'm going to show you how that looks in just a moment with example 1. Example 1 is graphing ratio relationships. We're going to represent each ratio relationship using a graph. So here is a ratio table that they give us. So the first thing we need to do is look at the ratio table. We have flour, which is in cups, and we have water, which is in cups. So we start off with grabbing out those ordered pairs like this. When writing ordered pairs with a ratio table, you always want to start with the first one. So we have flour, and that goes over here, which would be our x-axis, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And we have water right here, which is 2, which would be our y-axis. So this is how we set them up. These are called ordered pairs. Ordered pairs are always distinguished by a parenthesis and a comma in between separating them. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to plot the ordered pairs. When doing this, we always start with 0, 0. So now we have to draw out our graph, okay? I'm going to actually draw this while you watch me so that you understand how it goes. I'm going to use the right side of my graph paper over here. And what you have to look at is we've got to see how many water cups that we have total, okay? So water, we have 2, 4, and 6, okay? So the highest that we have to go is up to 6. For flour, we have 4, 8, and 12. So the highest I need to go is about up to 12. I always say to go just a little bit extra just so you have room. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with drawing a line, and you need to make sure that there are 7 and probably 13. Here's the thing. If I'm saying that this is my x and this is my y, x, y, x, and y, same thing with my zeros, okay? I'm going to start with showing you how to draw this out by starting with my x-axis. My x-axis goes along the bottom. I need to make sure I have at least 13 units on my x-axis and 7 units on my y-axis. I'm going to start right here just to give myself some room. So I'm going to count to the right at least 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I can actually stop right there because it's close enough. You always end it with an arrow, and this happens to be my x-axis. Then I'm going to go up on my y-axis because, again, my largest number is 6. So I'm going to go up on my x-axis at least to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go up to 8 just for fun. It's nice to label all of these, so I'm going to put my y's up here, okay? So the first thing that I have to understand is that this is 0 and so is this. Basically, right here on my lines, this is 0 right here at this point, and this is 0 going up. So my lines actually become 0. So now I'm going to plot those points. In order to plot those points, I just simply go like this. And this is what I would expect every time you do it, okay? The next thing that you need to have labeled on here are your numbers on the bottom. So I've got my 0, 0. So I'm going to start here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I want you to label all the way up until you get to the end of both lines, okay? So it should look like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do my counting. So I'm going to start with my first coordinate, which is 4, 2. 4 goes on my x, 2 goes on the y. So I'm going to start by counting 1, 2, 3, 4 on my x value. And then I'm going to go up 1, 2 on my y value. So this is where my first coordinate is going to be. And the way I label it is just simply like this, okay? Now my second one is 8, 4, right here. So I'm going to go over to my 8, okay? And then I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, right here. And I've got 8, 4. My next one is 12. And then I go up 6, and you just make sure you're right where you need to be. 12, 6. And the last thing you would do is you would take actually a ruler and draw this line in. It's going to look like this. Okay, what we're representing is that that line goes through all of those points. The other thing I forgot to do, and we should probably do this right at the beginning, is label what these lines mean. This one down here is our flour, which is in cups. And over here on the side is water. And water is also in cups. You want to make sure that you know what it's actually put into, like as far as the units, which is cups, because it's really important when you label things at the end. I wanted you to jot this down too, because I think it's really important that you understand that when plotting an ordered pair, X, Y, the X number corresponds to the horizontal line, and the number Y corresponds to the vertical axis, which is up and down, okay? So write that down. Your answer to a problem like this would simply be showing me this work here. I want you to try this one real quick. Here are the number of 6th graders and the number of 7th graders. Use those as ordered pairs and then put them on a graph just like we did right before. Look at your notes for help. The answer will be here in just a moment. And this is what your coordinate plane should look like. One thing that I wanted to note that I did differently on here is instead of counting by 1s right here, I counted by 2s because it kind of summed it up for me. Same thing up here. I went by 2s instead of going by 1s, and that's totally fine as long as you understand that the in-between is be odd numbers in this case. So that's like where my 5 is, but still in the 4 number, on the 4 line. Example 2 is using a graph to solve a ratio problem. So the problem calls for making a graph to represent a ratio relationship. You buy dark chocolate cashews for $12.50 per pound. Now I have to put that into a graph. But before I do that, you're going to create a ratio table that shows the relationship to start. I'm going to fill in a few of these in my ratio table. I have 1 to 12, $12.50. I'm going to do 2, and I'm going to do 3. Because again, I'm picking ratios of what the amount could be just based on pounds. I could have done dollars, but it was already $12.50, so I'm going to go from there. So how did I get from 1 to 2? I multiplied it by 2, multiplied by 2. You know, you can multiply by 3 from here, just like we've done last section. And then you should come up with your answers. There's the work for it, just because we've already learned this. Now you need to put in and create your ordered pairs. So our ordered pairs are going to look like this. We're going to have our cashews. And it's important that you kind of write this out too so you remember to cost. Okay? My ordered pairs, I have, how many cashews do I have? I've got 1 pound, and it's $12.50. I have 2 pounds, and it's $25. And then I have 3 pounds at $37.50. Again, we don't need to write in those zeros. Now, I'm going to I'm going to put this on a coordinate plane. All right, I always like to set this up like this. The one thing I want you to remember is you don't necessarily have to do your graphs by 1s. You can do them however, you can skip a few as long as it's consistent on each row. So I skip by the same amount. So for instance, I'm going to actually skip 2 of these and go 1 right here. And then I'm going to skip 2 more of my lines and I'm going to put 2 right here. I'm going to skip 2 more of my lines and put 3 right here. So it gives me space to put in my actual decimals that I have. Then on the top one, I'm actually going to go every line, but I'm going to go by 5s. Because we go all the way up to 37. 5, 10, 15, 20, until you get up to 45 on mine. Yours might be a little bit different. Please make sure you label it because labeling is very important and you will lose points if you don't. This is in pounds with cashews. And over here I have cost, and that is in dollars. All right, now I start labeling them. Again, when you're putting in your coordinates, you start with the X, which happens to be my first one, and my Y, and then my X, my Y, X, and Y. So now when you do a half, I'm going to show you real quick. So I'm going to go over to my 1. I'm going to go up to 10. I got to get up to 12.5. So I've got this whole area right here to deal with. However, I got to kind of determine where my 12.5 would be. Let me erase that. Okay. So I went over to 1. I went up to about 12.5-ish. Okay. That's about my best guess. Now I'm going to do 2, and all the way over to 2, and all the way up to 25. 2, 25. And then I go over to 3, and I go up to 37.5. So here's 35. Here's about 37.5. Does not have to be perfect when you're dealing with this, but close enough. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my line through it and put it right through 0 as close as I can. I'm not using a ruler. I would really prefer that you use a ruler when you're doing this work if possible, or some kind of straight edge. And this is my answer. So what I've been able to do is now I can say that every single point on this number line is part of what I could say. Like if I wanted to say, all right, here's my little pointer I want to know like how much half a pound would be. Half a pound would be about right here. So I can start adding in those if I want to. Now I can look at this and say, all right, how much does 2.5 pounds of dark chocolate cashews cost? So now I can use the graph and I can see that the cost of 2.5 pounds is halfway between 25 and 37.50. So 2.5, okay, here's my 2.5, and I'm going to go all the way up. Should be about right there. Oh, sorry, 2.5. If I'm going up 2.5, I'm going right here. My bad. 2.5. It's about right there. Okay. So what that shows me, let me put my dot in here. It's about right there. And what that shows me is that if it's about that, we could probably say that 2.5 pounds of dark chocolate cashews cost $31 and about 25 cents. So that would be a 3 or 2.5 and 31.25. Because look at it's over my line of 30, but not too far. And if you actually put your graph out a little bit more, you could see that it stretches it out more for you to see. All right, I want to do example 3. This is our final one. I'm going to go kind of quickly through it, but I want to show it to you just like this. This is straight from the book, obviously. So modeling real life, please write down example 3, modeling real life. A hot air balloon rises 9 meters every 3 seconds. A blimp rises 7 meters every 2 seconds. Graph each ratio relationship in the same coordinate plane. Which rises faster? So you've learned how to plot these in there. They give you, here's the balloon, and here's the blimp. Okay, I'm going to change my cursor. So if this is balloon, this is blimp. This is in time, this is in seconds. Something that you'll realize is that usually time is always on the x-axis, which they show that because it's here. They show that because it's here. That's your first one. So what you can determine after you kind of copy this down, as far as what I want to see you write, you don't have to write this, you don't have to write this. But please copy down this and this. Okay, take a second to pause and do that, please. As I'm looking at this, my time in seconds is always on my x-axis, and then my height in meters will be on my y-axis. Same thing over here, and same thing over here. Now, I just need to simply list out this, so please copy this down and copy this down with all my coordinates. I've got 3, 9, 6, 18, 9, 27 for my balloon. So I'm going to start off with putting that down first. So take a minute to pause it so that you can write out all the information on your coordinate plane. They go up to 10 on this side and they go up to 28 here. Notice how they go by 4s going up this way and they go by 1s going this way. Please do the same thing by taking a pause and doing so right now. Now I'm going to start with plotting my balloon. The balloon happens to be in red. They plotted 3, 9, 6, 18, 9, 27. Now I'm going to plot the blimp. The blimp they do in blue, which I think that you should do in a different color or a pen versus a pencil as well. We've got 2, 7, 4, 14, and 6, 21. So now the question is we need to go back up to the very beginning and we need to say, what did they ask us? Which rises faster? So we need to know which is coming up faster, the blimp or the balloon. Obviously, when you see that it all starts right here at 0, what happens is the blimp goes up and it starts rising a little bit faster than the balloon. So your answer here would be, because it says which rises faster, the answer would be the blimp. And that's the end of the video for today. Thank you.